Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Woo, boys
Let's
and
go.
girls, traders, we have
I'll
a
wake up to it.
beautiful freaking video for you guys going over Nio Stock more in depth. I know I gave you guys a little tidbit, a little teaser of what we were going to talk about today, but I wanted to give you guys more, right? Because there's a lot more to talk about on this chart. So if you guys stay the full length of the video, slap the subscribe button, hit the like button. You know what it is, guys. I'm glad to be back for you guys. And there's been a lot of support on Nio, particularly. If I pull up YouTube, I think last video got 100 likes on Nio, so that is insane. But looking at the charts, guys, we talked about ever since like right about here, like this kind of trading weirdness, right? This price action here for 2 months, the potential of this being a falling wedge, right? And what had happened was this falling wedge played out to a T, and you finally found the low after filling the gap, sitting back here at 450. You broke out, and now you formed a bullish pennant. Now, this is what we covered very, very slightly on the last video, but I did not have enough time to go more in depth. But now I do, right? So this bullish pennant, guys, has broken out, and I made this and posted it before the Friday's close, but you have actually, guys, you've done it. You significantly, in a big way, closed above $5 and broke out of this pennant, guys. This is a bull flag breakout textbook off of nice volume, right? More volume than the previous 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 trading days in a row. So if you wanted to take that, that profit target, right, you're taking the full length of the flagpole, putting it on top of the flag, and I really like, guys, the technical confluence that we are getting from this chart when you take the profit target, stick it on top of the flagpole. That literally brings you straight in to your now macro resistance trend line, right? Now that you're trading within this parallel channel, seeing as though you've visited the bottom, top, bottom, bottom. It is only a matter of time before we see the top of this channel, guys. And now that we have seen this bullish pennant breakout, I think it is a matter of time before you see these volume bars pump it up. Come on, sing it with me. Pump it up. You've got to pump it up. So that, I mean, that's really what I think is going to happen next is hopefully Monday you don't get some abysmal news and you can see this bullish momentum continue in the stock, leading you above, fingers crossed, knock on wood, above the 50-day EMA, above the 200, right? You closed above the 50 on Friday. And one thing that I really like, besides for the volume profile traders, is your 9-day EMA is curling back above the 50. So if you guys don't remember, I'll give you a little shot in the dark, right? A little flashback to when we saw this happen on the daily. I was like, this is not a good sign at all. This is a very bad thing to happen. When you had these two cross down, from that cross down, your move was pretty abysmal, right? Total 32%, right? No one wants to see that, especially on Nio Stock. But just a little sign, right? When you first got that cross, that was the beginning of a beautiful move up 117%. So these are one of many signs on Nio Stock that we're going to go over today, outlining that the bullish relief bounce is hopefully happening, right? Hopefully it's becoming a more realistic scenario, and hopefully it doesn't do something like this, right? Fill the gap. And then blah, 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 blah. But besides for that, right, we have so many gaps on this chart left above us and beneath us. If you look just recently from this abysmal shooting star candle, we left a gap sitting at 550. Now, 550 is one of the most important technical landmarks on the entire chart because not only do you have a gap, but you have significant horizontal resistance 10 cents above that. There's more gaps than just that, though. There's a gap sitting at 659, 711, and then there's gaps even higher than that, right? If we're able to break above 771, you have multiple gaps, multiple gaps sitting above you. This one is particularly a good place to aim at $10.29. and then you can go all the way back to I think it's $27 is that next gap fill. So Nio Stock on the short term, guys. I just want to give you some hopium. It looks good. Genuinely, it looks really, really schmexy. And what I'm expecting here is, especially after seeing this trend in volume beginning to break here, if you look where my cursor is, beginning to break, you could see that this move hopefully is just the beginning of something amazing. And I wanted to tie that into the weekly time frame because there is some signs in the macro time frame that this swing down is beginning to swing up, and that is my favorite freaking indicator, guys. The weekly MACD beginning to look like it wants to cross green. Last time you got this cross green was literally at your bottom before you saw this thing rip ass, absolutely go crazy, and it touched up 135%, guys. So the fact that you broke out, right, revisited your point of control sitting at 450, broke out of the falling wedge, broke out of the bullish pennant. Volume is flooding in. You're about to get your weekly MACD cross. There is so much to love here on Nio Stock that gets me excited. And I do believe from this price target, right, that you're going to travel up here to this high $5 price target. And what you do when you're up here is going to mean everything, because there is a very real scenario in which this remains a parallel channel, right? And you come back down to fill the gaps you left off of this rip up, and then also to tap this trend line. If you fail to hold the trend line, it is likely that you go down to 350, right? And continue to trade within this channel. Now, nothing is guaranteed, right? Nothing is promised, given, anything, right? We know that in the stock market. But what I would like to see here is once you get back above 560, that you find some kind of horizontal support. And that's going to be huge, right? Because last time you found horizontal support, you broke back above 560, retested it, and you sprung, right? You used that historical landmark as a launching pad in which you found new highs, right? $8. What I'd like to see here is a weekly close above the 50-day EMA, which you have not done since back here in November, right? You've continued to trade below, which is a typically bearish thing on the bigger time frames. Go into Nio Stock. I wanted to cover on TradingView too because we talked about the Bollinger Bands in the monthly time frame ever since the beginning, right? That was one of the first things we talked about, in which you began to squeeze them here back in August, and then you got above the midband, and you got above the upper band, right? And you closed right beneath that. And what that did was it began to expand the Bollinger Bands in a beautiful, beautiful way, which we call squeezy expansion, right? That is textbook. And you're now beginning to see these things squeeze once again. Now, what you did on Friday was so significant, and I was genuinely shocked, blowing up my Discord, getting excited. Discord's free, by the way, but getting excited because you closed above the middle Bollinger Band. That is significant, guys. And the more I zoom out on this chart, the more I give you guys the perspective of history. And this is something that I love personally to do, to see how the stock historically reflects on these levels, right? Look at how many times in the stock's history since you lost the mid Bollinger Band, that's this blue band here, that you have closed above it, right? You went a full 4 years without getting a close above it. And that's why I considered it one of the most historical significant indicators, right? Getting back above the mid-band and beginning to let these bands expand. Because when they do, you see volatility and expansion come back into the stock in a very meaningful way. But basically, what I'm saying here is shorts are cooked, guys. Shorts are screwed, in my opinion. I am so excited to see this chat and to see this chart, right, get bullish again, because you have this touch. There's 3 rising valleys potentially on this uptrend, guys. Closing above the mid band. You have your weekly MACD curling up, and there is so much to love about this chart, guys, especially on the monthly, right? I know we talked way back about the 3 white soldiers pattern. 3 white soldiers. I'm just going to do both. 3 white soldiers and 3 rising valleys. So 3 white soldiers is one of the best bullish reversal signals in the entire market. So the fact that you got that on Nio Stock, guys, on the largest and most bullish time frame you could get it, that is significant. That is super significant. And then you retest the breakout, right? Retest your point of control and get a tap of this uptrend, guys. It is literally something out of a Picasso painting. And that is what gets me genuinely excited about the stock at these levels, right? Now, we break this uptrend, we break 450, different story. And we'll cover that if it happens, right? God forbid. But what is important here is you're showing strength where you have to. So I am genuinely excited. And all of this ties back in on the largest scale macro indicator, your quarterly MACD, guys. Look at how close you're getting on the quarterly MACD that you haven't gotten since the early 2020 run on Nio Stock. You can see this absolutely crazy pump outside of this descending channel. Crazy pump, retest, and then now after retesting 2 quarters in a row on lower volume, you have the opportunity here to close a green hammer candle on the quarterly, which would go into effect May 1st, and to flip this green for the first time since 2020, guys. I am so jacked. I am so excited, genuinely. 3 white soldiers. I wanted to tie back into 3 rising valleys as well. This is a good example of 3 rising valleys, right? Higher highs and higher lows going along this channel. That is what we have the opportunity to establish on Nio Stock. If we go to the no, get rid of the Bollinger Bands. Okay, we're back. Right, Valley 1, Valley 2, Valley 3. Right, it's a little bit more of a megaphone pattern, to be honest, but you are making higher highs and higher lows, and that is what matters, guys. I know we talked about this possible inverted head and shoulders, also possible. We'll get there once we get there, right? 560 and 771, I believe. Yep, 771 are the 2 horizontal levels to watch very closely every single day, every single week. You should be checking, where did my stock close on the week, right? Because this thing is, these 2 levels particularly are the bane of our existence the last 2 to 3 years. Getting above here unlocks the doors to this kind of price action, right? This kind of price action. Volatility ensues once you get back above 771 on the weekly time frame. But the fact that you've held this uptrend, guys, very good sign, and you're showing strength breaking out of your bull pennant. So I really like that. I really like that for Nio Stock. On the daily time frame, you do still have the gap sitting down here at 454. Yes, after you filled the gap, you made a gap. Go figure. But there's no promise or guarantee that you're going to come back down and fill it yet. So just something to be aware of. 3 rising valleys, 3 white soldiers. We talked about that. I think the last thing I wanted to cover on Nio Stock was Nio Stock, particularly pertaining to IWM, because IWM plays a huge part with Nio Stock. And I just want to give that overlay again if you guys have missed it before. I'm doing this for anyone who has not seen it before, and that is Nio Stock's overlay on IWM particularly. And there's a very specific reason that this trend, this vertical trend line is here, right? You can see once IWM broke its flat top resistance back in 2020 and the Fed started buying treasury bills and started printing, and rate cuts came down dramatically, right? There are so many similarities that I'm seeing between 2020 and now, like Kevin Warsh being the new head of the Fed, and Trump basically saying he's not going to be able to be the head of the Fed unless he wants to cut rates, right? That is bullish for risk on assets, and that is bullish for IWM. As you can see, IWM recently has been outperforming the S&P 500. That is huge. That's a big deal, right? And you can see here, Nio Stock really began to go vertical as soon as IWM broke its horizontal resistance, gapped up, and just absolutely catapulted, right? Up 45%. What are you doing right now, right? You are on the cusp of seeing one of those vertical lines straight up to 300, 320, whatever it may be. That's just so happens to be what these last two peaks in 2020 led up to. I thought would be somewhere between 320 and 330, depending on where you hit it, right? But what you've essentially done here was you saw your spring retest of your horizontal trend, and now you've broken into new all-time highs on IWM. That is bullish, guys. I don't care who you are. You have a very solid 20% ahead of you. If this does in fact play out similarly to this run, to this run, to this run, and to this run. So, not financial advice, guys. You know how it is. I love each and every single one of you guys. I'm grateful. The Nio community has been nothing but love, and I could not be more thankful for that. God bless each and every single one of you guys. We got the merch out. It's comfortable. It's beautiful. I really like the logo. It prints on there nice. And remember, guys, as always, the best is yet to come. Let's go. Woo.